One of the services I provide my clients is website development. And as a developer, I need to consider basic forms of communication between the site and the site visitor, most notably with a contact us page. The user goes to this page, they fill it out, they hit send, an email is sent on their behalf. That's fine and dandy, except when you're a developer and you have multiple sites created for different clients, and those sites could be hosted in a number of places like GoDaddy or Azure or Network Solutions. You need to configure the email functionality for those hosts. Sometimes you need to pay a fee for that, or you got to seek out a third-party solution. What I wanted for myself is one solution that can be called by all the sites that I create, and to maintain the privacy of that email address. So this presentation demonstrates the solution I came up with for myself. So I guess a good place to start is to show my development environment. I develop using Webflow. I love this tool. I have multiple sites up there. Just for demonstration purposes, I have two of them here that I'm kind of highlighting. One is a client of mine called Alpine Aero Group. They are hosting their site with GoDaddy. My site, iduomo.com, is being hosted by Azure. So both of these sites have been developed using Webflow. The email functionality in Webflow works out great, except these are not going to be hosted on Webflow. And that's where the issue starts, because once these sites are published outside of Webflow, that email functionality breaks. So I need to either figure out how to configure that email functionality in GoDaddy or Azure or Network Solutions or any number of web host sites, or I just have a solution of my own. And here's the solution that I came up with for my environment. First and foremost, I created a Power Automate flow that acts as an endpoint. So depending on which site calls it, it's going to send the information from the Contact Us form to Power Automate, and Power Automate will figure out who called or who the caller is, which site triggered this. It'll get the name, the email, the message from that contact form, and then route it appropriately, either to iDuomo in this case, or Alpine Aero Group in that case. And the key to make this call to Power Automate's endpoint is by modifying one line of code, HTML code in the contact.html page, and to have a new page here called email.html, which is basically configured to call this endpoint. No email address is exposed whatsoever in this solution. There is one thing I do want to point out, because I've seen this in other demonstration videos on YouTube to solve this issue. And it comes in the form of this site here. It's called Form Submit. And basically, it's just asking you to modify your form tag to put this URL in your form tag. It calls their URL, but you pass in as a parameter your own email address. That's well and good, except this form tag is visible using the page source. So if I go to view page source, I'd be able to find that email address in here. So web crawlers or people scraping websites will be able to get that email address that's posted in here. Now that's not going to show on the actual website itself or the page itself, but if you know what you're doing, you can still retrieve that email address. So that's not adhering to the privacy concerns that I wanted to have addressed in my solution. To properly demonstrate this solution, I'm going to walk through the steps I take from the development environment, exporting the site. In this case, I'm going to use my website, iduomo.com, for this demonstration. I'm going to download it to my desktop, open it up in Visual Studio, and make the changes I need to make to that contact page. And once those changes are done, I'm going to publish the site to Azure, where this site is hosted. And once it's there, we'll be able to test out. I'm going to go there, enter information in the contact form, watch it go through this process through Power Automate, and ultimately into my inbox. So this is my Webflow development environment. This is for my website here. Let me show you this contact us page. Very simple. Have the user enter their name, email address, and their message, and they hit this send message. This is what I'm going to have to override in my Visual Studio. Once I download this code to my desktop, I'm going to overwrite the code here so it works with my Power Automate solution. So I'm going to go ahead and download the code. Okay, the code is downloaded now. This is it here. Notice there is no email.html because that email.html, I'm going to show that in a minute, has the custom code. That's a brand new web page that is created in my Visual Studio environment, not Webflow. So that's going to be a local page that is outside the scope of the Webflow site, which is what you see here. So I'm going to copy everything. This is the latest website. I'm going to copy this, paste it into my Visual Studio environment, and then make changes to it. Here's the site in my Visual Studio environment. I have that contact form here. Let's go ahead and open that up first. And I'm going to scroll down to the form tag right here. And this is what came from Webflow. So there's no action in here. It's just calling itself and submitting the data that's on this form. What we want to do is modify this form tag to call a page over here called email.html. This page I created myself in Visual Studio. So like I said before, this has nothing to do with Webflow. It's on its own. And what this is doing is it's taking the call from contact.html and it's getting those three variables or those three values, the email, the name, and the message that the person entered in that contact form. I do a bunch of other stuff. I create a data object here that's going to be passed into the call to Power Automate's endpoint, which is right here. Here's the call. So there's no email address here that you can see at all. So the privacy concerns are addressed. And I'm just sending that endpoint this data object, which was built up here. I want to note this part of the message. I'm concatenating this text, this open parenthesis, system, ID, close paren. This is what is going to give Power Automate something to look at to decide, oh, this is coming from iDuomo. That's what the ID is for. Or it's coming from some other site, and it can direct those emails accordingly. So this email.html is the secret sauce, if you will. Now this contact, we need to go ahead and change the form tag. I already have that form tag, what I need to change it to, written up here in a text file. So I'm going to copy and paste this into that contact.html, but if you notice here, I just put in the action, call the email.html. So it's going to submit this form and all the data that's on that form to the email.html. So let's go ahead and get this into the contact.html. Paste it there. It's done. I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to publish this to the host site. Those are all the changes that need, or all the retrofitting, if you will, that needs to take place. So I'm going to publish this, and while it's propagating the internet, I'm going to open up Power Automate and show the code in there. Here's my Power Automate flow for this solution. It's called Contact Us email notification. And here's that endpoint URL that we put into that email .html page. So that's what we're calling here. We're sending it this data object. Here's the JSON schema that we created in the Power Automate flow. So it's looking for that. That's what we're sending. Now remember, part of this message that we're sending, we're concatenating a unique identifier to denote what website sent it. And that is what's getting tested over here. So if I look at our example, and that's iDuomo, I click on this, I'm looking to run anything in here, which will be the email functionality, if this condition is met, and that is if anywhere in the message you find this text, this at system ID or at system colon ID, that's that unique identifier we put in, then run everything in here. So it's going to send a custom email message to me. It's very simple. I can format these emails however I want for each client. It can be different. I could have multiple email recipients, etc. But I'm just keeping this one simple. I just have the subject line say contact us, exclamation point, and the information that user put into that contact us form. So that's the gist of the whole flow. It's manually triggered by a call to the endpoint, and then it goes down and tests that message to see if there's a unique identifier in there, and then it'll send that email. A quick side note here, this is I'm back in Visual Studio. I'm looking at that email.html page, but this is for that other website that I created, Alpine Aero Group. So I gave it a unique identifier of AAG. So this will be sent when somebody goes to that website's contact us page, and it'll wrap this data object up, send it to the same endpoint, and Power Automate will be able to look at this and ascertain, hey, this is for Alpine Aero Group, send this message to them. So the iDuomo webpage or website is up and running, it's live. I'm going to go to the contact us just to test this out. Blah, 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 if I can spell right, I'm going to hit send. And with my code, I just have a message box that pops up that says thank you, blah blah blah. Hit OK, and it takes the user back to the home page. I have Power Automate up and running right now, so let's see that the call was made from that website, which it did right here 22 seconds ago. That was it, and I can see the path that call took. And if I go down to iDuomo here, I can see it went all the way through and it sent that email. So that's what that green checkbox means. And here's the email in my inbox. I can format this however I want, but this just gives you a good idea of how this solution works. There's all the information that I put in and that I sent through the contact us page. So it got routed appropriately. And that's pretty much it. Some key takeaways with the solution that I used here is, one, I was able to maintain the privacy of that contact us email address. Not a lot of websites do that. You can glean that information pretty easily, and then you can send spam if you want. Not that I would do that, but that's what people will do if your website or your email address is exposed. Second, no matter where my websites are being hosted, this solution works because it's calling that Power Automate endpoint, and so it doesn't matter where you're hosting that website. Third, it was pretty easy to retrofit. Part of my protocol going from development to production is to stop on my desktop and modify those things that I showed earlier to make this work. And plus, I have source control too, so I need to download that code anyways. So I'm able to retrofit it and make it work. With the Power Automate flow, I have options now too. I can do conditional formatting depending on the client. I can maybe even put in some AI functionality in there. Maybe I write to a database, so that's all captured when the user hits send in that contact form. So I have some flexibility with this approach. And that's it. If you have any questions, give me a jingle. Thanks for watching.